I'm really excited about our chat today. The rise of Gen Z, ageism, activism, and debunking the teen stereotype. So I'm just going to dive right in. I'll just give a little intro and then I'll ask you your first question. Lazy, dramatic, self-involved, misguided, too young, phone obsessed. These are typical adjectives adults use to describe teenagers. When I think of teens today, when I think of Gen Z, I think proactive and motivated, not lazy, passionate and enthusiastic, not dramatic, altruistic, not self-involved, focused and informed, not misguided, self-reflective, adaptive, and open to growth, not too young. And to Gen Z, a smartphone can be a tool for change. Hi, I'm Odani, and I'm a fervent teen ally. Oh, here's Mariah, yay. I'm a fervent teen ally and the creator and manager of the Teen Revolution Network. I'll be moderating today's discussion. Before I continue, I wanted to thank Community X for inviting us to add today's discussion to their Changemaker Forum program. You may have heard of these teens: Greta Thunberg, a Swedish climate change activist; Malala Yousafzai from Pakistan, who fights for girls' education; Emma Gonzalez, who led a gun control movement after a school shooting in Parkland, Florida; or more recently, Avi Shiftman, a high schooler from my home state of Washington, who created the COVID data tracker website that's used by leading health experts. There are thousands of Gen Zers who are doing good for the world right under our noses. And I'm so honored to introduce a few of those Gen Zers today, the panelists. So in no particular order, we have Kat Lau and her partner Anya, who couldn't make it today. They co-founded the Colorization Collective in response to the racial inequities they witnessed in the art world. Their international organization supports teen artists of color through several initiatives. And then we have Trisha Beyer, who's the founder and CEO of the Art Shine Foundation, which she created as a way to invite teens to get involved in artivism. The mission of her foundation is to use artwork to make a positive difference in the world. And next we have Nick Kimball, who is an entrepreneur and civic leader. He currently works at Civic Wave and Edison Civic Change, advocating for civic education in the US schools and activism work, including addressing systemic political issues. And then we have Sid Walter, who is the creator and host of Teeny podcast, T-E-N-Y. She's trying to make sense of the world through conversation while acknowledging her privileges. The idea to start a podcast resulted from noticing a lack of education among peers in the public school system. And last but not least, we have Mariah Isabella, who is, welcome Mariah, who is the founder and executive director of Quarantines Magazine, or Quarantines Mag. What started as a memorabilia for quarantine quickly grew popular with teens worldwide, and Quarantines Mag transformed into a creative lifestyle print magazine with a focus on service and activism. Thank you all for being here. So this afternoon, I'd like to start the discussion off by talking about the adultism our panelists face as teens in our society. Then we'll talk about Gen Z activism. I'll ask all of you what unique qualities Gen Z has and how they play a role in advancing social progress. And finally, with the election around the corner, I want to end with a conversation about the importance of youth civic engagement and the youth vote. So, and we can go in the order that you introduce yourselves just to keep it easy. But if you can share with me some experiences that you've had with ageism or youth oppression in your life in general, and or in your community work.
I think something that's happened, sorry, my family's at home and my dog's very cute. Something that I think most teens kind of encounter when they look into activism and advocating for what they believe in is just dismissal and people thinking that they don't have stakes or the correct knowledge to properly advocate for the cause that they are passionate about or causes that they believe in. And so something that we've found just has kind of been like, oh, dismissal, not taking us seriously. But on the same vein, there's been a really great network, Teen Takes, who's our fiscal sponsor, of adults who just kind of give us the spotlight, and it's very collaborative. So on one end, a lot of people I find are super dismissal and don't really care to give time to teen voices or younger voices. And that's one of the issues that we've found to face. But we've been lucky that we haven't faced it often.
Awesome. That's good to hear.
I think that, there's a pretty dominant divide between adults and teens right now. When we go to present some of our viewpoints and opinions, as Catherine was saying, we face dismissal. But also, I think, they think that we don't have enough experience and that we are talking without researching, or that we are saying certain things without actually knowing the subject, which I can see how that would be, a valid viewpoint. But I also think that, teens and adults need to collaborate way more because we're coming from a different generation. We have different priorities. Our globe, our world, all of this is in our hands. We have to solve these problems of not only our generation, but future generations. So I think it would be really beautiful if those two age groups, joined forces, because we could do so many amazing things. And I think there need to be more people like Odani who support us and allow our voices to be heard in settings like this. I think that's so important.
Absolutely.
Yeah, hitting on Trisha's point for a bit, it's definitely the same, at least from my experience. The number one thing that I think is the biggest advantage for a lot of teens is the ability to equip themselves with knowledge. Having the phone, so many different resources makes it much easier for us to retain information in regards to our older past generations, as I'll say. But the biggest challenge that's always going to be there is, are we willing to work together? And that's always going to be the biggest thing, is if we're going to come together as one instead of being divided on different views. And when it comes down to it, at the end of the day, I think everyone in this call, all the viewers at home, we want the best for ourselves, the people around us, and for a long life of longevity. And I think after we understand that point, it's much easier going further for us to connect the divide between the past generation and the younger generation.
I think one of the biggest things that I've faced is the ability for help when you're a teen and you're trying to organize or do something positive and you want to make a positive change. Not a lot of people believe your idea or believe that you'll stick with it. They think that you're going to drop it off. It's just for fun. And sometimes it can be both fun and really super productive, but getting that help and getting the resources you need is easy because we have a phone. But like, what if it's external help? What if we need organizing experience and we don't have that? So finding those people who are like teen activists and teen leaders in the older generations that will help support us and lead our voices. But I think it's also important to say that teens, we do also kind of not pick on each other, but we have some adultist ways where we will think that another teen's ideas aren't valid just because of their age. I certainly am guilty of doing that before. And I know that it's not always something that we think about, but it is important to note that we all pick on each other in some sense, and we all criticize each other's work either because of judgment or comparison, and we just want to make ourselves feel better. But yeah, I think those are some of the main ways that I've experienced it personally.
Mariah?
Well, first of all, I think you put that, like, it was very well said and very true, because no matter how much we would like to, say that adults and the past generations really do scrutinize us, and, TikToker generation sort of like jokes and stuff, we really do need to do a better job of just supporting each other and kind of getting out of like this cancel culture kind of fad that we're going through right now. I know I said cancel culture, but that's literally the culture that we have right now. And I think the biggest thing is like they're running a magazine. Like the biggest issues that I think I have like with trying to prove or trying to help change something through activism is that, you know, Instagram posts can only do so much, or resharing, retweeting, reposting can only do so much, to a point where if you call yourself something like, and this has happened, like even from my own parents, where they will challenge me um, and say, "Oh, well, you really say you're into this. You're passionate about filmmaking. So where are your films?" Like, "Oh, you talk about it, but where are you guys doing it, you know?" And I think that's the biggest thing, and the difference of our generations, that since we're so acclimated to doing everything on technology and social media and everything, it's really hard for past generations to understand that's basically the new era that we're running into. But I think that it's, although can be a little bit discouraging and toxic, that it's also very good to have those opposing opinions or perspectives, because it helps us to, like my own parents say, like get out of the idealism and the online sort of activism and to actually go out and do something and make real change happen.
Thank you. Yeah, the word that came to mind was that I recently saw was slacktivism. The idea that like, oh, it's activism, I'm sharing this post, you know. It's like, well, that's that. I mean, it does make a difference, but yeah, you got to go a little farther than that to make change. Thank you for sharing all of that. So I wanted to talk about who is Gen Z. According to the Pew Research Center, Gen Z are people who were born from 1997 to 2012. I've also seen 1996, so I don't know how they determine that. Members of Gen Z are more racially and ethnically diverse than any previous generation, and they are on track to be the most well-educated generation yet. Josh Miller, who is a member of Gen Z and the director of Gen Z Studies at XYZ University, said, "Generation Z marks the last generation in US history where a majority of the population is white," which I'm sure that blows a lot of people's minds, but it's definitely heading in that direction. He also said the chaos and unrest in our political system has inspired us to want to get involved and make a difference. And it makes sense that activism is inherent to your generation. You were raised in the wake of 9/11, and among a flurry of crises like climate, the disparity in economic and income equality, school shootings, now COVID, the pandemic, and police brutality, the Black Lives Matter movement. And like you have been saying, a key piece to Gen Z is that Gen Z activism is that you're digital natives. 95% of Gen Zers have smartphones, but what are you doing with them? Most adults would probably say that you're wasting your time on entertainment, games. Yes, they are used for your social lives, but they also are used as a resource for information and as a tool for change. For example, the Community X activism app enables you to connect, organize, and assemble with activists around the world who share similar causes. Their mission is to unite humanity and mobilize the world. So I am wondering from you, Gen Zers, what unique qualities does Gen Z have to offer society? And how is Gen Z contributing to social progress?